Grognard here, back with the beginning of the new year, and well, this is my bedroom. That's why I'm working now. So, different view, but what the hey. Hey, I wanted to talk about a game I have yet to play. The reason I have yet to play is in about 2 weeks I will play the first time. I've been dying to try this game, and some of you already know about it. I'll give you the history of it in a minute. And it's a very outstanding role-playing game, Savage Worlds. Yes, we're going to try Savage Worlds. Let me tell you a little bit about it. It's a generic role-playing game, for one. I know you've seen a lot of universal generic role-playing games, from Fate to Hero to GURPS to, wherever. But I kind of like this one. This kind of grew organically. I mean, not saying the other ones didn't. I mean, Hero, started out as a superhero game and things like that. But this one, I don't know, it's just got a nice feel to it. And it's supposed to be fast, as far as combat and everything goes. Real, like, pulpish action, things like that. Now, it was released in 2003. By the way, the author is Shane Lacey Hensley. He runs Pinnacle Entertainment, or rather, yeah, he does. And he came out in 2003. Now, this game has its roots in Deadlands, if you've ever played that. That's horror in the Old West, or the Weird West, as they call it. Actually, what they did was they had Deadlands, but they came out with a variant on it called the Great Rail War, which is all about the railroads. And they did a variation on the combat system and the game system for Deadlands, and that became Savage Worlds. They just said, hey, we can use this for anything. So what happened? The first edition came out in 2004 in PDF, and 2005 it came out in print. Good success. Second edition, which was they called the Explorers Edition because it was this size instead of the other one, that came out in 07. First edition 0405, second 07, and the third edition, or Deluxe, came out in 2011. In 2012, they came out with the Explorers Edition of Deluxe. Now, this right here, it's not only a great game, but it's a great bargain. This book, $10. The core book, $10. And it's got everything you need in there. If you want to get the regular size hardback, that's $30. But I'll go for this any day. It's solid. It's perfect bound. It's not falling apart. And the way the system works is your stats are not numbers. I mean, they're numbers, but I mean, like, they're dice. Say you have a strength. Everybody starts with a D4 in their stats. And what happens is you can use points to buy them up. Say you want to buy up your strength from a D4 to a D6, that's 1 point. Or a D8, that's another point. D6 to a D8, etc., etc., etc. They also have skills. And what skills do is you can buy those up the same way. But what happens is, see, each skill, excuse me, each skill is related to a stat, or traits as they call them. And say you're doing shooting skill, which is linked to your dexterity, I believe. Well, you can buy it for 1 point per die up until say you have a D8 in dex. You can buy from D4, D6, D8. That's 3 points right there, a point. But if you want to go above that, it costs you 2 points. So you want to go to D8 to a D10, it'll cost you 2 more points. D10, D12, 2 more points, things like that. And they also have what you call edges and hindrances. Now, edges are those little things that make your character unique, such as like a dead shot, or something like ambidextrous, or things like that. That's where the game starts getting interesting, because the edges all have specific things they do. They may work with the traits, but they have specific things they do. Now, it becomes really easy to come up with a character. Hindrances, well, hindrances are disadvantages, things like that. They have major and minor. You can have 1 major and 2 minor hindrances. And they give you, like, you can take an extra edge or something like that. And if you're playing games with non-human characters, humans get a free edge automatically. So how does this work? Combat. It basically works off of the dreaded um, target number. But in this case, I like it because every target number is 4. Every target number is 4. Now, what happens is the GM gives you pluses or minuses to that, or certain things you get an edge on, like, say you had a sharpshooter, you get a +2 to hit, and you roll it. And you also roll a d6. You specifically have a d6 called a wild die. Say you had a d10 in dexterity or a sharpshooting. You roll that d10, but you also roll a d6. Boom. Now, that d6, if it's higher than the d10, which I doubt, you take the higher of the two. There's a lot of the things that go on with the wild die too. You can what they call ace. Say you have a target number of, because all target numbers are 4, but you can add the GM can also add or subtract to them too. Say you had a target number of 8 to hit something, and you roll your shooting. They have a shooting skill in there that covers all shooting, from bows to crossbows to guns to you name it. What you do is you roll your dice, and you roll the say you got a d12, which is the highest you can have in shooting. You also roll that, and say it's an 8, and you roll a 12. Well, guess what? You aced on that d12. If you roll the highest number on the die you have, you do what they call an ace. And what happens was it explodes. Take the die, put that aside, keep the 12 aside, roll it again, add it to it, and keep going. If you keep getting a 12, you keep adding to it. Same thing with the wild die. If you roll a 6, you can re-roll that wild die again and add to it. They also have what they call raises. Say, okay, you rolled again. The target number is 8. You have a d12. You rolled a 12. Not only do you ace, but you get a raise. Every 4 points above what you have to hit gives you what they call a raise, and different things can happen to your benefit. You may get more damage on something. You may automatically decapitate someone with your mighty sword, something like that. Really nice stuff. Now, the downside is if you roll snake eyes, even if it's just you're thinking the wild die, that's bad. That means something bad's going to happen to you, and the GM decides what it is. Okay? Kind of balances out the fate. I also have something called bennies. That's, for those of you not in America, that's short for benefits. They're basically represented on the game table by like chips or stones or something. A lot of people like to use poker chips, which I'm probably going to use in the game. And each player gets 3 of them. You can earn more in the game, but everybody starts with 3. And the GM has them too for his characters. And they could do stuff like, well, the basic thing is that you can re-roll a roll. Everything except damage. You cannot use a Benny to re-roll a roll. And the thing is, when you re-roll, like a skill roll or a to-hit roll or something like that, if you get a bad, roll, you roll the whole thing, including the wild die. You just don't say, well, my D12 didn't hit, so I gotta, I want to pop a Benny and do that. No, you got to re-roll the whole thing. Bennies are also helpful in combat situations. Now, before I told you can't use bennies to avoid damage. Okay, or rather, you can use it for to hit, but I mean, as far as the damage goes, the only thing you can do that, there's an edge called No Mercy that will let you use bennies for damage. But what you could do, the way the damage works in here, is you can spend a Benny and soak it. Now, the damage works like this. Everybody gets 3 wounds. And the first time you get hit, you get shaken. No matter what, whether you get a wound or not, you're shaken. So you're a little off balance for about a round. You're -2 to hit and minus, like that. Takes a round to shake it off. Okay. Now, to soak it, if you don't want to be shaken, you spend a bennies as I soak it. So you're not shaken for the next round. Or you can soak a wound or things like that. You got 3 wounds before you start taking big minuses on on your to hit, and after 2, I think you're down and dying. So they also have something called the golden hour, based on paramedics things. You get to you for the first hour, which they break down into turns. You have a really good chance of surviving. Anyway. So it gets really wild and crazy. By the way, as a player, I would advise you to save at least 1 penny for combat. You can't just keep rolling, and all of a sudden, the guy's got the big gun on you, he's got you down, and he shoots you. Oh boy, I'm going to die. Okay, fine. Anyway, this game they've got so many settings for this game, it's unreal. You can make your own. All you need is this book right here. You can make your own. And it's just, but they've got so many settings from Pinnacle themselves and third-party settings. And there are people online doing fan stuff. Like they'll take any genre, any existing game, existing movie and stuff, and they'll convert it into Savage Worlds. I've seen at least a dozen Savage Star Wars, Savage Ghostbusters, Savage, like I said, other games, Savage Gamma World, playing Gamma World in Savage Worlds. And also their Prime game, the one they started with, Deadlands, has gotten a Savage World rework called Deadlands Reloaded. Now, the one I'm going to be running is 50 Fathoms, is the first setting book that came out. I'm not going to go into what it's about, pirates, but I'm not going to go into it, not until a later show anyway. But this was also written by the author of Savage Worlds, and it's excellent. It's the first what they call a plot point campaign, which makes it real easy for the GM. Because what plot point campaign is, if you get a plot point campaign, it's got an overarching plot, okay? And there's about 10 scenarios in there linked to that plot that you play, and it's got a beginning, middle, and end. You're supposed to defeat something at the end. But you're not expected to play them in order. You can insert, they've got other things in here called Savage Tales, which are short adventures that you can do in between. There is no timeline to this unless you make it, the GM has control of the timeline. If you want to insert like 2 or 3 more side, adventures in here, go ahead. And you don't have to use these. You can put your own in there. These are great. I mean, this thing has got a ton of adventures, hooks, and things like that. But you can do your own, so it's like nearly unlimited for these plot point campaigns. And it's incredible. So look for this. Get it. Savage Worlds. $10. Can't beat it. Okay, well, that's my review of Savage Worlds. Great way to start off the new year. And I will, don't forget to drop me an email at oldmangrognard@gmail.com. Till next time, bye. See ya.